Pretty reasonable advice. It may not seem it at first, but bear with me. 4 cups of seed, Katie says. Every day, 4 cups of bird seed. Can you believe that? I mean, that's a lot of seed. But she does it nearly every day, her and her little buddy, prancing around the yard. It's a charming little routine. I sure do love it that Katie fills those bird feeders. While Katie fills the bird feeders, I position my camera at the window in hopes to capture that feeding frenzy. Hope, of course, being the key word. Our birds don't show up often when the window's open. It's hard to imagine why. Perhaps it's that creepy guy sitting behind the camera. Either way, I've photographed a lot of birds from living room, kitchen, and bedroom windows. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite images, the image of the female cardinal, is hanging in our foyer. That was snapped from our back porch. I've spent countless hours over the years in my backyard photographing all manners of birds, flowers, and bugs. I call this my low-hanging fruit. The images, they just don't take a lot of effort. The birds, bees, and flowers, they come to me. Well, with a little coaxing, of course. Here's a few images I've taken over the years. Notice how I've cleverly placed those perches in hopes to give the images a, well, let's just say a natural look. Most recently, I strategically placed this branch with that lovely bouquet of flowers to act as a backdrop. Unfortunately, nothing seems to be coming to that perch today. They seem to be more interested in that area stocked full of fresh seed. Well, maybe I should just let them be. Plus, it's 100 degrees outside and I'm letting out all the cold air. Or letting in the hot air. I don't know, either way. Living room, kitchen, and bedroom windows aren't the only windows that serve as useful blinds. Car windows. I estimate I've taken nearly 100,000 images out of the driver's window. Not only have I taken countless pictures out of the window of my car, I've driven probably 50 to 100,000 miles in search of birds. I've photographed out the window in national parks, along fence lines, old country roads, desert highways, parks, and even a few neighborhoods.
He's a freaking squirrel. A ground squirrel perched in the top of a bush.
I know it may seem a little strange to onlookers, but, as I've said before, the birds, they see a guy with a camera standing out in the middle of a field, well, that's a threat. On the contrary, a guy sitting in a 4,000-pound SUV, well, that's no threat at all. It may seem a little lazy, but I get quite tired of setting up gear. Sure, I may make it look easy. I certainly have developed quite a graceful routine, but it's a lot of work carrying that stuff around, and oftentimes, the moment I get set up, the birds take a liking to a completely different part of the field, and, well, I just keep doing it. Heck, I'll lay in the mud, crawl in the weeds, squat down, stand up. Pretty much anything to get the shot. I can't really explain why, except for the fact that I love taking pictures of critters. I've had some amazing experiences along the way, and other times I felt like it was a real waste of time. From great gray owls to song sparrows, I just love photographing all of them. Sometimes I find it difficult to get the shot, and other times it's seemingly easy. I can remember when I first started, nothing was easy. I found myself cussing camera equipment, cussing myself, and relying heavily on YouTube for any advice I could get to make better images. How to photograph birds. What's the best camera equipment for photographing birds? Best bird photography lenses. What is ISO or ISO, however you say it? It is shocking the amount of advice you can find on the internet. In the first few years, Jared Polin, Tony and Chelsea, and Steve Perry were on my computer screen nearly every night, and I'll admit it, I pretty much still watch every one of their videos. I, of course, navigate to all their gear reviews, because we all know better camera equals better pictures. I mean, that's at least the vibe I get most of the time. So I, of course, bought too much gear. Eventually I made a video about it. You can find it right here. Long story short, and I know it's possibly too late for that, but 8 years later, here I am, making YouTube videos, giving free, or rather unsolicited, advice. But it occurred to me, I'm just a dude. I have a regular job, and I'm not a professional wildlife photographer. Undoubtedly, no subject matter expert on cameras, and I'm marginally decent at Lightroom. Hell, I barely trust my own opinion on what makes a pretty picture. But alas, I have a YouTube channel, and according to YouTube, over the first 5 months, you guys mostly want to hear what some dude has to say about camera gear and what he thinks is the best way to get good photos. I must confess though, I really find it difficult to make these types of videos. It's hard to offer up sincere advice when you're not that sure yourself. Here's what I am sure of. Bird and wildlife photography brings me joy. And the only advice I'm truly comfortable giving is this. Set up a bird feeder and spend a lot of time photographing birds out of your living room window. It's great practice. Spend tons of time driving around looking for critters and photographing them out of your window. You'll see more than you think. And spend a lot of time laying in the mud photographing birds. It'll bring you joy. Just be sure to check for ticks. I feel like that's pretty reasonable advice. Oh, and don't forget to go check out Jared Polin and Tony and Chelsea and Steve Perry. That's, of course, if you want to know how to do it right. I'll just be over here to encourage you and cheer you on along the way.